Now, welcome back. Welcome back to Sutton Says. I told y'all this week we had some big guests. This is the first Super Bowl champion, first of many Super Bowl champions in the show's history, first of many authors. Not the first, but one of many mental health advocates that we've had on the show. D2 episode was heavy on that. Pretty much every episode we sprinkle it in. Proud USF Bull, BJ Daniels.
What's going on? How you doing?
How you feeling, baby?
I'm good, brother. I'm doing well.
Fresh off work. I know I'm underdressed. I didn't know we were wearing the suits today.
No, I dress like this every day, man. It's just a blessing to be able to have a job and go to work and kind of put it on, if you will.
Right. No,
dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. So I'm always suited and booted.
Suited and booted.
Yeah.
And you just started working at a new job, essentially.
Yeah.
What's it? Where are you working at?
Yeah, so for the last 4 years, I worked at USF. I was a fundraiser, so I helped build funds for the football stadium that they're currently building right now.
I was gonna say, I think it worked.
Yeah. So $390+ million is what we had to raise to try to get that thing going. So I'm excited for USF in one sense.
Right.
But on the other side of things, I work for a company called Evera Health.
Evera.
So it's a healthcare facility or company. There's 16 facilities within the Pinellas and St. Pete area and county, and from anywhere from dental to pediatric to physical therapy to sports physicals, and then I'm over the behavioral health department. So it's my job to grow the behavioral health department in the mental health space.
Get the conversations going, get the word out.
Breaking the stigma, all those things.
More community relations, more outreach, that kind of stuff?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm in charge of making sure we have partnerships,
right?
Growing our patient numbers as well. And then for me, just, it's personal because I want to be able to not just say I'm helping break the stigma, but I've lived that stigma. I've been a quarterback, a young African-American male in America.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out what life is like as a man, those types of things.
And you've been grinding it out, essentially, so that mental health has been probably something that was bothersome going back to high school. You weren't super highly recruited out of high school either, correct?
Yeah, not at all.
3-star, 2-star, anything like that?
So let's start with 0.
0 star.
Let's start with 0 stars going into my junior/senior year.
But that junior year is when the offers start hitting and you start trying to figure it out. But still, no offers going into junior year?
No, I probably had USF as one and maybe ECU, Eastern Carolina, as another.
Good school.
But 2 schools I was overlooking, at a young age. All my teammates were going to Texas and Alabama and Florida State and USC. So for me, I'm like, I'm the quarterback that's throwing the football to these guys. Why am I the one not getting overlooked?
It's not going to ECU.
Yeah, that was never going to happen. Yeah. But,
and you were in Tallahassee, though.
Yeah, Tallahassee Lincoln High School.
Lincoln, yeah.
So I was just really excited that my senior year, me and my dad sat down. We wrote on a piece of paper, like, hey, these are your goals. Mr. Florida, win the state championship, throw 50 touchdowns, do these things. And I promise you, I didn't do any of those things except graduate. I missed every single goal.
Mr. Florida, that had to be Matt Elam that year?
That year was Ja'Cory Harris at Miami Northwestern. Yeah, sure. So, so I missed all those goals. But instead of, winning the state championship, we were in the playoffs very deep.
That's a great run.
I didn't hit 50 touchdowns, but I had 45. So there are things I didn't make, but it was good enough. And that's when the Alabamas came, and that's when Michigan came, and that's when I earned 4 stars. And then, I really chose USF because it's like that young lady who puts, that first love. They came to me first.
Right.
And they stuck with me throughout the whole process. I wasn't interested in somebody that came at me at the end of my process, because I wanted to go somewhere where that school would love me and not just like me. So that means if I threw an interception, do you still care about me?
I ain't on the bench for the next kid up right away.
Yeah. So USF was that school for me.
And they looked out for you pretty heavy. But what was your grind like through high school? Yeah. If you were at a school where guys are going to Texas, stuff like that, and you guys have state aspirations, you probably weren't lazy in the off season.
No, not at all.
Damn near a full-time job year round.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, high school was very antisocial in ways because I played football, basketball, baseball, and I ran track. And it's funny because every single sport I did, and my parents, and I tell parents today, don't pigeonhole your kids into one sport. I was able to do multiple things, and it also helped me become who I am today.
Right.
So for example, I was a slow kid, on the track, but track taught me how to run, so I became faster. When I was in baseball, I was in center field, so it taught me hand-eye coordination or even swinging the bat.
Right.
Basketball footwork. There's a lot of things in basketball footwork-wise that I used in football eventually. Little did I know. But summertime, I mean, I'm training with guys who are getting recruited by – they're 5-star guys getting recruited by everybody in the country. So for me not to feel like I'm left out, for me to be a 13, 14-year-old, still going through puberty, still trying to figure out who I am as a young man and all these different types of things, like I'm really trying to push myself to be like what I'm seeing every day.
Right.
And those were the seniors and the juniors that were getting those scholarship offers. At the time, I mean, it started for me as early on. I was a freshman as a starting quarterback on varsity.
Huge.
So I'm seeing these guys in real time every year in and year out, go to all these different schools.
Right. Real deal
and
schools.
I figured like when it was my time, it would be my time.
Right. But so that freshman year, even though you started as a freshman,
yeah.
and for all the high school kids watching it, you didn't roll out with all your USF offers and all that after your first year, did you?
No, not at all.
It takes a second.
It
and
takes
probably
time.
Even after your sophomore year. Probably had a decent sophomore year.
Yeah.
Especially if they're throwing you in as a starter with all these,
yeah.
talented guys. You're doing something right.
No,
you're probably
100%.
just working.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Off season was like you mentioned. It was very gruesome. It was hard. It was hot. It wasn't the time to lay around in the pool. I tell people all the time, you get ready. Your football season starts in the summer. That's when you're supposed to prepare your body, not only to get stronger and faster, but even to protect yourself. I mean, there's a lot of hits and things that you're going to experience throughout the season, and you want to be able to be prepared to take that beating, to go week to week to week to week and still perform at a high level.
So were you one of the quarterbacks that was actually eating weights in the weight room, or were you one of the ones that liked to hide in the back and do the calisthenics?
So God didn't bless me to be 6'4", 6'5".
Gotta lift.
So, gotta lift. I had to, get faster, get stronger every year, get smarter. Had to be in my playbook, understand coverages and things like that. But I think I maximized my ability that God gave me, or even my stature. So
absolutely,
when it came to lifting weights, I lifted with our offensive linemen and our linebackers. I did that honestly because those are the type of guys I was gonna have to face on a day-to-day basis. Linebackers want to kill the quarterback.
Yep.
Linemen have to protect me, so those have to be my best friends. I got to take them out to eat. I got to feed them.
We got to be on the same page 24/7.
Yeah, absolutely. So, working out with those guys and us being the bigger or leaders of the team, because naturally as a quarterback, they make you the leader even if you don't deserve it. So I had to learn how to earn that position, because as a 13-year-old freshman walking in a varsity locker room, I mean, nobody's looking at me like, you're the man.
Yeah.
You're just a guy in that position.
We're probably using you because we have to now. We probably graduated our real guy.
Yeah.
We don't really know. You're pretty athletic. We can make you work.
Right.
It ain't nothing really to do with you, essentially.
Absolutely. So I worked out with those guys to prove myself.
And it worked.
Yeah. Eventually, it did.
Eventually. So your recruitment process, and a lot of these kids nowadays, it feels like with all the NIL and all the social media stuff, they think if they're 14 and they don't have a bunch of Michigan offers and stuff like that, they act like the world is over.
Yeah.
Do you think the recruiting stigma and recruiting nowadays is easier because of all of that stuff, or do you think it makes it a little bit harder because coach can just grab a freshman out of the portal instead of a high school kid?
It's definitely harder. And people pigeonhole me and ask me this question. My freshman year, I'm the quarterback at USF. We go back to Tallahassee. No one gives us a chance. It's my first time ever starting at quarterback, and we beat Florida State.
I was coming to that one.
So the question is, okay, BJ, do you come back to USF the next year?
Why would I leave?
I don't know. I mean, you're talking about NIL now.
Yeah.
Okay, so if another school were to offer me money that USF may or may not match, that is a question I'm going to have to take back to my family and we talk about. It's not something I could just completely ignore, especially when certain things can be generational when we talk about wealth and moving your family forward. What decision I would have made, I don't know, to be honest, because it worked out for me at USF, and you could look at that hindsight.
Right.
But you never know.
But if it would have been offered, that's something that you're not just,
you
I'm
can't
sorry.
Ignore it. No, you can't ignore it.
USF, well, if it was today, USF probably would have backed the Brinks truck up just to get you in the building in the first place. You know what I mean?
They would have did something.
Once it got hot, at least. After that sophomore, junior year.
That.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely believe that.
But it is definitely, I think it's harder too. Because, again, outside of them just spending so much money now, if I'm a senior and I have a pretty decent senior year, my junior year was pretty good, there's some buzz about me, odds are I'm competing for a scholarship against a sophomore that already played some NAIA, some D2. He's got a little bit more size on me, maybe a little bit more speed. So you have to compete against that. You didn't have to compete against that. You had to compete against, I'm staying in a building, and pretty much everybody here staying in the building.
Right.
You took over that starting job not quickly,
right?
But what was that adjustment like going from I'm the man in high school as a freshman to I'm not necessarily the man right away once I get to USF?
Yeah. No, it was tough. I mean, to be honest with you, you get recruited in high school, and in high school I ended up being not Mr. Florida, but I was Mr. Basketball and Mr. Football for my county.
Fire.
So, I received an award in the Panhandle where it goes from Panama City, Pensacola to Tallahassee, through that whole area, and I was voted the best player in football and basketball. That's great. I come to USF, I'm meeting 135 other Mr. Counties and Mr. Everything.
Mr. Texas, Mr. North Carolina, Mr. Georgia.
So that was an adjustment for me, especially when, as a high school recruiting goes, they're flirting with you, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
They're telling you any and everything you want to hear to make the relationship work out.
You're going to be the starter. You're the future. You're the face of the school, all that.
When you come to visit, you get the steak, the lobster, the cheerleaders. You get the whole fan fest. But then when you get on campus, and my experience was, okay, BJ, we're going to redshirt you.
Here's this playbook. Figure it out.
Here's the playbook, and we're going to redshirt you. And I was mad. Like, I was really upset because I really thought how you were recruiting me was how you're going to treat me. But then when I got on campus, it was a little different. Yeah, you still cared, but the level of care changed. Why? Because I wasn't the guy. The guy was Matt Grothe.
And we can say he's a guy.
He's the guy. He was a guy. He is a guy. He is a guy. Yeah,
still is a guy.
And, so like to get on campus and to think I have an opportunity to compete with him, but I'm redshirted for a year.
Did you think you could compete with him?
Oh, absolutely.
Just being a dog, being a competitor.
No, man, just my mentality, in general. Even to this day, like I still play competitive basketball, right?
I believe it.
And there are guys who played overseas, played in the NBA that I play with on a consistent basis, and I make sure that they understand they're gonna have to compete with me today. Yeah. So it doesn't matter where you were, what you did, and even what sport it was in. Like, that's just me.
I'm still working.
I just always been that way.
I'm pretty sure the first time I met you, you were in a fraternity.
Yeah.
And you guys were hooping in the rec center.
Yeah.
And me and my fraternity, my white fraternity, go in there, and I'm like, oh shit, that BJ Daniels.
Yeah.
You swatted one, went coast to coast, and like windmilled. And I was like,
I can't do that anymore.
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go play flag football. I'm gonna go with the.
But see, like even that, right? Like just how I was raised, and I'll be honest with you, it comes from a very dark place, right?
I get it.
So my competitive nature, no matter where we are, no matter what it is, LA Fitness, the rec center, football, basketball,
right out here
baseball,
in the front.
on the street.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a dorm room until I was 6. My dad was a dorm director at Florida State. So a lot of people haven't really heard all the time is I didn't grow up in the hood or the suburbs. I grew up in that dorm room, so I didn't have kids around me. I had a bunch of college students.
Right.
So when I eventually did go to a middle school that was in the suburbs, predominantly white side of town, I'm having to prove who I am because they're not my neighbors and I don't look like them. But then when I go to the south side or the other side of the train tracks, I'm not from their neighborhoods, but they see me in church.
Yep.
Okay, and then eventually I went to Lincoln. So I've had experiences on both sides and even the middle to where I have to prove myself over here and I also have to prove myself over here.
Wear a couple different hats.
And I'm not going to take nothing from nobody on either side. Like that's just where that nature comes from.
Yeah.
But it all centered around from sports.
Got to prove.
Yeah,
and even
absolutely.
today, even if there's not anyone asking you to prove yourself, I just got to give you that work no matter what.
I got it.
If that's what we're doing, I'm sorry.
You push a button, you push a button.
And it's not personal. It's just that's just being a dog.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the people you play with at USF specifically probably had that same competitive nature
100%.
that comes from a dark place.
100%. I mean, the best 2 teams I ever played for or organizations, because I will compare Seattle to USF.
Right.
USF literally is, everyone talks about Florida State, Miami, and Florida. Okay, why was USF so good early on? You had a bunch of dog mentality guys who were under recruited,
undersized,
maybe not went to the most glamorous high schools or accomplished all great things or even experienced injuries or hardship.
Right.
But we all came together to prove one thing, that we're not damaged goods. We are worth the conversation to say, listen, we're here. And I think that's why while I was there, and people still don't really think about this, exception of Florida, we were competing with Florida, but we beat Miami. But we beat Florida State, we beat Clemson, we beat Notre Dame, we beat West Virginia on a consistent basis. We beat, teams that
always competed with everybody.
Louisville, it's a thing. But that's what Seattle was. Seattle was a bunch of what you want to call misfit kids, is what we used to call ourselves, because we all came from different backgrounds. Florida, I'm from Florida. Cam Chancellor's from Virginia Beach. Yeah. Marshawn's from Oakland, California.
Richard Sherman, he's
Sherman's
Cali.
from LA, he's Compton.
Yeah.
So you got all these people from these areas that come together, and it's like, okay, the Patriots? We see stuff harder when we're back home.
Right.
Not, what we're seeing in front of us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that really helped us kind of be the bad boys or the Legion of Boom or whatever you want to call it.
The villains in the story.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You guys had to be the villains, and USF was the villains a bunch of spoiling seasons, ruining people's conference hopes, getting coaches fired all the time. Damn, they got Saban fired, retired him at least.
Yeah.
But do you think – so, you're going to compare USF to Seattle organizationally. Yeah. How would you compare your coaching that you got in high school to the coaching you got at USF? Was it a lot of the same stuff? Was it so much more advanced that it took a second?
Yeah.
What was the difference?
I'll be honest, man. I'm really blessed to, and I don't have to sugarcoat this at all. My basketball coach at USF is in the high school Florida Hall of Fame.
Right.
Because of what he's contributed to the sport and what high school athletes, in general. So did my football coach. He's also in the high school Hall of Fame.
Right.
And they're going to name a football field after him. They're going to name a basketball court after my basketball coach.
What are their names?
Paul O'Halloran was my basketball coach, and David Wilson was my football coach. And those two people knew the game, and they taught it to me. And they taught it to me from a very raw level. So there was no babying or sugarcoating for me at all. I learned coverages in high school as a sophomore.
Big.
How stuff changes and pictures move, because they wanted me to completely understand what was happening.
You got to know at their level. I got to be able to talk to you and communicate.
I'm a coach on the field as a quarterback.
Yeah.
So.
And watering it down only sets you up for failure, essentially.
Yeah. So I really am thankful. Even right now, my quarterback coach was Willie Simmons.
Solid.
Okay, so Willie Simmons used to be the quarterback at Clemson when he played college ball. He also was at Prairie View, which is in Texas. He also became the FAMU head coach a couple of years ago, where they won 3 or 4 different 10-win seasons.
Run.
And now he's the head. He coached at Duke, and now he's the head coach for FIU.
Killing it.
So I learned from people that, and I thank God for it. It was very intentional for my process. So
you've always been around.
So when I got to college, it wasn't what's cover 2. I had to I knew that 3 years ago.
So then jumping from the college level to the college level to the pro level, you go from very solid coaching at USF to legitimately Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
You had Harbaugh at one point.
Jim Harbaugh as well, yeah.
You had pretty deep staffs over there.
Yeah.
Especially on the Super Bowl run. Then you went to San Fran as well. So that was Shanahan and that whole net. What was the level like, adjusting to that?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, it seems like, they make it in college, they have a nice run. Right. Even in some of these more watered-down offenses, people try to accuse USF of running watered-down offenses.
Gotcha.
And then the QBs go on to the next level and they sustain careers.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't think you guys were getting enough credit for what it was you were doing and the coaching level you were getting. Yeah. But was it that much more, intense with Pete Carroll and that staff?
So I guess the term, when we talk about intense, right? It's the NFL in general, and it's really from a knowledge standpoint. So, for example, I can't say that I've ever heard Pete Carroll ever yell at me about anything. Has he corrected me? 1,000 times.
Right.
Different style. Jim Harbaugh, he'll yell at you. He'll get in your face.
Quick.
But both coaches have different styles, but you understand it comes from a love perspective. When you get to the NFL, you need to understand what's happening and what's going on, because no one is dumb. There's no walk-ons. There's no third-year, four-year players that are trying to graduate. If you don't get it, you don't get it. That's from the rookie to the 10-year vet. Like, there's an expectation from a knowledge standpoint that everyone knows what is going on.
Right.
I tell people all the time, why do I say the best? I say this: the best players are not always in the NFL. I'm like, what do you mean? Okay, well, here's a prime example. If it takes me 10 times to learn a play in practice, but I'm a great athlete, it takes you 3, and you're not as good as an athlete as I am, they're going to keep you because I'm wasting not only my time, the coach's time, practice time, and the other 11 players on the same side of the ball. Like, for example, if I sit up here and tell you I play quarterback in my first snap with Marshawn Lynch, he goes right, I go left. Who you think gonna say something to me first?
He's digging on you.
He's gonna say something.
Yeah.
So then there's that my brother's keeper. There's that ownership part,
right?
To where Pete Carroll doesn't have to yell at me. Because Marshawn just did.
The team polices themselves.
Absolutely.
He had officers on that team.
Yeah, and we also talking about not only life and death, but, you know, there are positions of power where it consists of, in the NFL, no one graduates. So this Red Bull is a plate of food. Are you willing to take that plate of food from me? Or am I willing to give it to you?
Yeah.
So I'm going to understand that this playbook is extremely important to me.
Yeah.
And I need to understand what I'm doing, because if I don't, I'm not going to get on the field.
No.
It's not because I'm not a bad athlete. I have to know what I'm doing first, because they can't trust you. People also get hurt. People get killed. There are things that happen on the football field that
you got to know.
If you make sure if everyone's going left, you going with them.
Yeah.
You better go with them,
because that could be it.
Yeah.
One play.
Yeah.
Now, you said there's a lot of athletes that, you know, they just can't figure out the playbook, they can't turn the lifestyle off, or they can't handle, you know, maybe the city that they're in. Because if, you know, it is intense, like pressure-wise is what I understand. The NFL guys and the college guys I talk to.
Yeah.
Everybody, we're on the same level knowledge-wise, but the pressure is real to perform. Yeah. You're not going to be out here losing a bunch, and we're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
So do you think that pressure is what gets to certain guys, and then they can't study? You think they just give up on that side, and they think their athletics are going to keep up? Why do so many of them just fizzle out?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just be blunt. The perception of football players, even as a young – I've seen it on Disney Channel movies. I've seen it on Nickelodeon. Dumb jock.
Dumb jock.
Know, they use that phrase so very fluent. And I'll just be honest with you, man. Like, for you to make it to the professional level at any position, you have to be able to learn how to study, read, and write. Right. And retain. And then not just retain, perform under pressure.
Which is repeat, essentially. You got to be able to spit it back out on a board. Person to person, whatever.
I know plenty of guys who can go on the board, they can draw up the whole thing, they can write the whole thing, they can say the whole thing. But when somebody hits you in your mouth, then you forget.
Or the lights come on.
Or the lights come on, and then you just lose all functionality of what walking and talking is.
Yeah.
So it's more than just that. You know, and at the same time, you know, and I'm a mental health advocate right now. I had a book that came out last year about mental health. And to be honest with you, like, there are guys that handle pressures outside of sports that have nothing to do with football, but it affects football.
Right.
You know, so I've had many opportunities where, you know, after we beat Florida State my freshman year, I was robbed at gunpoint. Okay, that affected football. But people don't know
USF?
that. Absolutely. People don't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's things that happen along the way, you know, robbed at gunpoint, or my little sister was diagnosed with cancer when I was in the NFL. My grandmother died of cancer at the same time. You know, relationships fail. There are things that happen along the way. And I'm speaking for me just personally where, you know, I have the ability to allow my personal to affect football, my professional.
You can shut down.
You know, so, you know, I've been on the team in Houston with the Texans, and I just lost interest. Like, I literally, like, made it to my dream. I experienced San Francisco. I experienced Seattle for 4 years. I get to the Texans, and I'm like, this team's not as good. I don't really have no friends on this team. Texas is hot. Like, it was just, out. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you know, it is a disrespect, in my personal opinion, now that I'm older. It's a disrespect to the blessing God is giving you.
Disrespectful to the game.
It's different, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you know, we are all human, and a lot of times we operate off feelings and emotions.
And you probably covered and masked a lot of those for so many years that once you broke, it was just like, that's it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I cracked it. I ain't been talking about this for a while. This is how I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah, so it can happen to anybody.
Right.
It really can.
So, and especially when people don't know how to handle those demons or balance those things as they happen.
Yeah.
If you, I mean, let's rewind it then. Let's go back to that freshman year, that redshirt freshman year.
Yeah.
You handled a lot of pressure early on with going back to your hometown,
right?
Having to give Tallahassee the work.
Yeah.
I mean, where did that confidence come from to just go in and do that? Was that?
Yeah, I mean, God was 100% involved. Also, what people don't realize is there's two major factors to me coming back to Tallahassee as a freshman. I grew up watching Charlie Ward, Derek Brooks, Warwick Dunn, Xavier Lee, Peter Ward. I mean, Thad Busby, Bobby Bowden. I
grew up an FSU fan?
I grew up on that campus.
Yeah.
So I literally grew up across the street from the stadium.
You're there.
So I used to go to games because my dad would get free tickets.
Right.
As a dorm director, he would get free tickets and take me. He would take his son, B.J. Daniels, to sit in the stands and watch Florida State play.
Right.
That stadium was not unfamiliar to me at all.
Right.
And I think people don't understand that.
You were comfortable rolling
now,
in
if
there.
we were playing Ohio State or Penn State or Michigan, I don't know, because those are all unfamiliar territories. Maybe the hype would have got to me, maybe the excitement. But so that's number one. I was familiar with the environment. Yeah, yeah, I was familiar with the environment. Number two, I wasn't a true freshman. I redshirted.
Right. So you got to sit, you got to study.
I got to sit and study for a year before I even stepped on that field. So I had already been in college for a year. But then I also was in college for a year going against Jason Pierre-Paul, who, got drafted in the first round to the Giants.
Rings.
As a DN. I played, it was
Selvey?
George Selvey was on the other side.
Yeah.
And I'm this rinky-dink freshman
and
redshirting. Huh?
Was it David Burton?
Oh, no, he was at Florida, yeah.
Yeah,
but we had 9 guys out of 11 on that defense who all went to the NFL.
Yeah.
So the story of B.J. Daniels is great when you think about him going back to Tallahassee, but also had 9 out of 11 guys on defense that went to the NFL. Sam Barrington went to the NFL. He played linebacker.
Fire linebacker.
Kayvon Webster played corner.
Yeah, Broncos for a while.
Yeah, Mr. Raymond played free safety. Nate Allen played free safety. Keon Wilson played linebacker. He went to the Steelers. Yeah, Terrell McClain, one of our nose guards, went to the NFL and played for the Texans and Cowboys. So I saw all those guys in practice every day.
You're pretty.
So going to play against Florida State, and no disrespect to those guys, they weren't them.
Yeah.
So it was no real panic in my play.
You were ready.
Yeah.
About as ready as you were gonna be.
Yeah, and I say this I keep saying this, man. San Fran and Seattle is so similar. I mean, I talk about 9 out of 11 guys on defense went to the NFL, but then so I got to see them for a whole year.
Oh, well,
what people don't. I got to see the Legion of Boom every day.
And Bobby Wagner.
Every day. Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Bobby Wagner, Cliff Averill, Michael Bennett.
Yeah. Peak Bennett, Peak Averill.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're rushing.
Earl Thomas, it's a thing.
How was Earl Thomas as a teammate? I bet he was a menace in practice.
So he's also my frat brother too.
Yeah.
So he's a Kappa.
Yeah.
Or Noop. But yeah, absolute menace. He's one of the most annoying people in the world.
Yeah.
So in practice on Saturdays, we have walkthroughs. We practice Monday through Friday. Saturdays are walkthrough. Okay, which means we're not running, no cleats, tennis shoes, because it's our last mental review before our game on Sunday.
Right.
He's the only person wearing cleats and running full speed.
Calling
stuff out. If the ball goes in there, he's flying like a hog, running a 4-3. Everybody else is walking.
And he's just a unit.
And he's that too. Yeah, and he's that too. So a lot of respect for him too, though.
So then, was he your favorite teammate on that team, or are you allowed to?
Favorite teammate is Marshawn.
Beast mode.
Yeah, it's Marshawn.
He's as cool as everybody assumes.
Yeah, I mean,
because you do your work and you're prepared though.
Yeah, and I talk to him probably more than I talk to other guys. So there's nothing against Doug Baldwin, who I talk to, Cam Chancellor, who I still talk to, but Marshawn is probably the guy I talk to more consistently.
So do you not talk to Russ?
No. So me and Russ don't have many conversations.
Did you have conversations?
Nah, not too much. I mean, when I was there, he was a great teammate. Very encouraging.
Right.
I got a lot of respect for his faith, what he, God and his beliefs.
Seems like he works very hard.
He works very hard.
I
got a chance to watch him prepare for 2 Super Bowls. So that's the biggest game in the world.
Right.
And I watched a young black man with stuff he's experienced. He lost his father early on.
Yep.
It's public. He went through a divorce the first Super Bowl.
Yep.
Here comes Sierra, the second Super Bowl. I mean, the way he still was able to compartmentalize things and focus on the game, I have a lot of respect
with all
for
the
him.
static.
Yeah, and
even
after the fact, it doesn't go the way we want it to.
Right.
So even how he handled it after the fact, throwing an interception and us not giving the ball to Marshawn on the 1 yard line, I'm sure. I'm sure. I know he caught a lot of flack for that. But that's society, that's social media, that's the world.
Should he have given the ball to Marshawn?
Well, I mean, to break it down, it's not his choice. He has the ability to change the play. All quarterbacks do.
He could have checked it.
So that everyone points that out. But at the same time, man, if you got a play call from your coaches, you want to honor that. And it's cool to honor that if it's a regular season game and it's the second quarter. But if it's the last potential play of the biggest game of your life, you might – I understand the aspect of, you know what, I'm going to do what my coaches told me, because if I do something different and it doesn't work out,
I'm so fried.
Then they're going to blame me. You
right.
know? So, and we've run that play 1,000 times. Would it have been something I called? No, not at all. I mean – We all say this in different podcasts and walks of life. You give the ball to Marshawn Lynch 3 to 4 times and we still lose, we can live with that.
You don't give it to him at all. Well, is that second down?
Yeah, you don't give it to him at all. We got a problem.
That's not going to fly.
Yeah, we got a problem.
I could imagine, and this was a way different scale, but my last high school game, third round of the playoffs, 7-0 game, minute and a half left against Apopka, who was averaging.
What high school did you go to?
Treasure Coast.
Okay, yeah.
They were averaging 44 points a game.
Was good, huh?
We had him 7-0 with a minute and a half left on the 3.
Okay.
And our coach calls a boot right, little dump, little kind of a flood concept essentially. Yeah. Whole huddle's going, don't do that shit. hey, no disrespect,
somebody
Dylan.
Get blown up or somebody died.
just hand it to Foley.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever met Jeff Luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on my team.
Okay.
And for some reason, he was on offense at that point just because we were really piecing stuff together.
Yeah.
He goes, man, y'all could give the ball to Sutton. I'll lead block. It don't even matter right now.
Yeah.
And QB, I'm not doing this wrong and getting fried by Soup.
And he runs the play.
I'm running the play that he called. That boy rolled out, threw an interception straight to the safety. And we all just kind of folded it wasn't Marshawn. It wasn't the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But that huddle was so intense of everybody being like, bro, don't do that. Don't do
100%.
that. I feel like that was the same huddle, that Super Bowl, being like, Russ, please just hand this ball.
I mean, and then just imagine how tight everybody gets, right? It's not just the quarterback.
The receivers are kind of
they tense. It's a big moment.
And you know who was intense?
Who was that?
That dreadhead crazy man that was ready to just pound it in again.
Yeah.
We don't have to sit on that one.
Yeah, he's calm and cool.
He's okay with it now. He got his ring.
Yeah.
And
here's the thing, though. We were thinking about 3. So
we had it set up.
So we were back to back. That was back to back Super Bowl for us.
Right.
Our team broke up after that. So in our division, we still was thinking about San Fran can't deal with us.
Right.
The Rams can't deal with us.
Rams weren't even close.
Arizona can't deal with us.
Still
so we still were looking at, okay, what does number 3 look like? And yet and still we went to the playoffs again.
And contracts looked good that year too.
Yeah.
Was it just the locker room fell apart after that and too much media stuff kind of killed it?
Did. I mean, it hurts, man. If you think about, you train all your life. So even though we already had won, you train all your life for this moment. Then you train
Super Bowl. That ain't state. That's Super Bowl.
Then you train all summer with the same guys. Then you go 17 games of 17 weeks of being around each other every day. You go to the playoffs. Matter of fact, we beat Green Bay. That was a big deal. We were losing to Green Bay by 3 touchdowns.
Aaron Rodgers prime Green Bay.
And then we came back and beat them. And then we go to the Super Bowl and get to 1 yard away and lose. That's not I saw grown men throwing chairs, cussing coaches out. It's a real thing.
And that, being a mental health advocate, you can't even.
There wasn't no room for that. Not then.
Y'all get it out. Get it out your system. I don't want y'all taking this
there wasn't no room for
this
that.
later.
Not at that moment.
that is about, like you said, that is not only the whole year of working.
Yeah.
That is your whole life culminated to that.
Yeah.
But you were blessed enough to grind, get drafted.
Yeah.
You said 7th round.
Yep.
Squeezed in. And a lot of guys, they act like getting undrafted is such a disrespectful thing. Just making it to the league at all.
Yeah.
Not only did you make it, you had kind of a would you say a dream year that first year, just going straight to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I did. I did. It didn't start off that way.
I was gonna say, was that a fight to make the team? Because that quarterback room was stacked at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I went through 2 quarterback rooms, essentially. So I get drafted by San Fran, and that was like the most nerve-wracking thing in the world.
With Cap.
Man, I break my ankle my senior year of college.
Right.
I don't think I'm going to get drafted. I end up getting drafted. I'm sitting up there trying to start a new life with, a girlfriend I had at the time. I'm going to move to California. I had never been from Florida. And I get in the quarterback room, and it's Seneca Wallace, who played in the NFL for 12 years.
Fire.
It's Scott Tolzien, who was in there for 7 years and played at Wisconsin.
Here's a baller.
I'm in there with Colt McCoy, who's the 3rd-round draft pick from Texas, who was a Heisman runner-up.
Yeah.
And Colin Kaepernick. Where do I fit in?
Yeah.
So that was tough. And then I eventually played well enough to make the team. So they kept Kaepernick, Colt McCoy, and me. And
stacked room.
I'm thinking I made it. I'm good. I'm in the NFL. You can't tell me nothing. And I was on the team for 5 regular season games. And then they cut me from active roster and tried to move me to practice squad. I didn't understand what that meant. So I'm mad.
That essentially means you're not dressing.
You're dressing,
you're a practice
and you'll make less money.
Yeah.
Right.
And you just practice all week long.
Yeah.
And wear joggers on the sideline on Sunday.
So I go from having a chance to play, getting about $25,000, $30,000 a week to $6,000. And with no chance of playing.
Called the agent.
But if you look at, like, my track record is, the money was good, but my journey was just the ability to play. That's the only thing I wanted to do.
Right.
So that wasn't the money thing is a blow, but that wasn't my determining factor. So I'm there for 5 weeks. I make the team, and they end up, removing me from active roster practice squad. And I'm mad because they have to cut you to do that. So I'm crying. I'm like, it's 12 noon on a Tuesday.
I got cut.
I don't have a job, essentially. I'm calling my dad like, Dad, I got cut. I got to come back to Tallahassee. I got to be an FBI agent or use my my criminology degree, from USF and be a police officer or something.
He's like, hey, man, calm down.
And he's like, just pray on it. Things will work out.
Yeah.
In 24 hours, my house, furniture, car that I all bought in San Francisco is in San Francisco. But in 24 hours, I'm playing for the Seattle Seahawks.
That fast.
It happens that fast. So on Wednesday, I'm wearing a Seahawk uniform, and I'm getting ready for Atlanta, was our next game, the Falcons.
So do they just throw you like the game plan for the week?
They throw you the game plan for the week. They don't have time to give you
You can't take the whole playbook
their
now.
principles and what they did in training camp. They give you what you need to know for this week.
Here's formations, here's subs, here's checks, here's our motions.
Yeah.
And
So when I
much
talk
ball
about
as you
so when I talk about intelligence, like, these guys ain't dumb, and that dumb jock stuff got to go out the window. It's a certain level to this where I get a playbook, which is a whole new language. It ain't just English is English. No, the 49ers taught English. Seahawks teach Spanish.
Right.
So you got to pick that up quickly.
The Rams speaking Mandarin.
Yeah, you got to pick it up and keep it moving. So, but yeah, that was a crazy transition for me. But that year,
that room
the blessing was we played the 49ers. I'm with Seattle, but we play the 49ers in the NFC Championship game, and we win as the Seahawks.
Right.
So
you were on both.
So bittersweet, but we beat the 49ers.
Sorry, boys.
Yeah.
See y'all next
and
year.
And then we go to Super Bowl that year and win.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So then, after being in the room with Cap and Colt McCoy,
you
get to Seattle. You're in there with Russ, Tavares Jackson, Terrell Pryor.
Terrell Pryor was there too,
and PJ Daniels.
Yeah.
That is a loaded room.
It is. Very athletic.
What was practice like with them?
Competitive.
Everything
Everything's competitive. First one to get into the film room. First one to show up to the facility. I mean, it's small as that.
Right.
We got a break in between meetings. Who can make the most baskets?
And you're
getting
roasted.
We had a basketball hoop. Yeah. Talking trash is at an all-time high. Because it's like we all came from situations that we had to prove ourselves.
Right.
Me and Russell Wilson, comparison as a physical sense, we're about the same height.
Multi-sport athletes.
Multi-sport athlete.
High GPA guys.
Yeah, Terrell Pryor as well.
I mean,
very
Pryor
competitive.
Terrell Pryor got about 5 inches on y'all.
Yeah,
No
he does.
disrespect.
He's the tallest in the room for sure.
Yeah.
He's definitely the tallest in the room.
T-Jax was tall too.
Yeah, T-Jack. So Terrell might have been 6'6". T-Jack was about 6'3".
Yeah.
6'4". But even T-Jack came from Alabama A&M.
Right.
So he came from HBCU. So all of us have different backgrounds. So we're really competitive.
Right.
But it was cool. It was a great experience because at the end of the day, I really enjoyed that room because nobody was a jerk to each other. As competitive as we were, there was no room or space for us to be, to hide the playbook from someone else or to not share information.
Odd stuff.
It wasn't like that.
Did that kind of start with Pete and Coach Carroll just pushing everybody to just dog everything? Yeah,
I mean, and then Pete Carroll's an easygoing guy. He's a player's coach. Everybody loves Pete Carroll.
He's just having fun out there.
Yeah, so I think it started with him though. Like the way he acts and treats us is reciprocated. It's like that's your leader. So if your leader's a jerk, then the rest of the company might not function with positivity and encouragement. But it wasn't like that at all, and I really appreciate that.
So, I mean, I've always viewed him as one of the greatest coaches to ever lace him up. Yeah. Going back to, I grew up on that USC, Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, like that squad. Yeah. I used to wear the black cleats with the white socks. That way I could be like USC type beat. Yeah.
And white shoestrings.
Yeah. Oh, laced in there. I was like, tough. It's even the Coliseum with it. But it seems like no matter where he went, he was always 80 years old and just super juiced up.
Yeah.
Is he bringing that in the meeting rooms, on the practice field, and just keeping you guys gassed up? Is that what the players' coach is?
No, 100%. 100%. I mean, he taps into what it is that we like and what makes us better. So, for example, I mean, I can't tell you the number of famous people I've met because of Pete Carroll. Like, I walk into and he ran it somewhat like a college. He allowed us to be grown men. So what I mean by that, even throughout the week, we didn't have curfew. During the season and even the Super Bowl, we didn't have curfew till like the last 2-3 days. So he allowed us to be men, allowed us to go through it and figure it out. He allowed the leaders in the locker room to police the locker room, so where it's not him being a dad or a coach, it's him being a motivator and a mentor, which is a big difference.
You had curfew with the Niners?
Somewhat.
I was going to say, Harbaugh.
It's a different vibe, somewhat.
And what happened to him that year with that different vibe?
You know what I'm saying? Things happen.
And then he had to run out of Szn3ep7 and go back to college, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Either way. Great coach either. I'm not knocking.
But yeah, 100%. No, but you're right. The styles are so different.
Yeah. You think Pete's about to do something with the Raiders right
100%.
now? I'm excited for him.
100%.
He's got Geno. And 100%. Geno, you want to talk about high IQ? Geno's about 50 now and still looks springy. He's still got some dog. Yeah. I like Ashton. Okay. I like Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure about the defense outside of that pass rush.
Yeah, the pass rush is going to be nice.
But do you think the way he kind of, I guess, just embodies that player's coach, you think that's going to fit over there?
I do.
It seems like they've just been missing on these last couple coaches.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, I don't think Pierce should have been fired. So let me just say that.
Okay.
I don't believe that at all.
Okay.
But as of right now, you're giving Pete Carroll a lot of different new pieces that he is going to be able to be successful with. But I would love to argue, what if you gave those pieces to Antonio Pierce?
Right.
So
how short really is this leash for not just head coaches in the NFL, but black head coaches in the NFL?
Extremely.
Seems like it's a one and done most of the time.
Extremely.
And if you can pull 2-3 seasons, it's a miracle.
Yeah, I mean, just to be fair, there's a historic standpoint to the black athlete, period. So let's not even get to coaching yet. There's a lower level tier of and I'll speak from my personal experience, is BJ Daniels smart enough to be our leader? Does he look like, walk like, and talk like what we want to get behind on the football field, in the community, on the socials? Is that what we want?
And you're held to a higher standard.
100%.
For literally no reason.
And I think the culture is now changing.
Where they're over that?
Absolutely.
You got guys like Lamar.
I mean, even just the embracement of it, right? You had a playoff last year with 4 black quarterbacks.
Beautiful.
That's just now happening when it could have happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago. You don't know how many quarterbacks that I meet today that are older than me and taller than me, and they were reprimanded for the things that they experienced and went through, and they're proud to meet me because they think that I had something to do with breaking somewhat of the barrier. Right. And then I'm now one of those older gentlemen looking at a Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts and saying, like, you know what, there was a Michael Vick, there was a Randall Cunningham, there was a Warren Moon. You know, like there's these guys who might not have gotten the opportunity to praise you did, but they started it.
Right.
You know, so I think we're just now getting into the conversations where let's get to the point where we don't have to talk about it. It's four teams going to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Because you wouldn't say it's 4 white quarterbacks going to the playoffs. You wouldn't say that.
Don't have to.
You know, so I think that's positive that we now are in the space where that conversation doesn't need to happen. Let's just keep moving forward as to who's the best athlete to do it. And I have people who've talked to me like this. For example, Anquan Bolden. Everyone loves him as a receiver and where he's from.
Finest,
he played
baby.
Quarterback first.
Yeah, at Pahokee.
He played quarterback.
Yeah.
So it's like me and him talk about it when I was at San Fran. He's like, young buck, you don't even know what opportunity you got.
Have him in San Fran. Yeah, Brennan Davis too?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Frank Gore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were loaded too.
Yeah, they were. Alden Smith, Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman. Yeah.
Damn.
I've been around some guys.
Yeah.
So. Blessing. It's been a blessing, though.
And out of all of them, who hit the hardest? Out of everybody, Wags, all of them.
Man, you don't start a fight, man.
Was it Earl Thomas?
No, it wasn't Earl. Earl's the smallest. It wasn't Earl.
Yeah, but he could hit.
He could. If you didn't see him coming.
Yeah.
Because he's coming from a mile away, 50 miles an hour.
He's getting ejected in today's game.
Oh, 100%.
Him and Cam.
Now, Cam, you just adding fuel to the fire. You got Cam, Earl Thomas, Bobby Wagner. Then on the other side, you got Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman. I mean, Dante Whitner played free safety.
Oh, Dante Whitner was nasty.
I mean, like, it's just so many people. Like, it's crazy. Alden Smith, Justin Smith. I mean, there's so many.
All right, so take hitting out. Who's the hardest worker you've ever worked around, been with in the league, college, anything?
I think from a physical standpoint, and this is only because I've had the relationship with him to see it. So this is not a slight to, like, I know Bobby Wagner works hard. I know Cliff Averill does. I know Bruce Irvin. That's another name.
Bobby about 50 still playing Mike.
Yeah. They ain't that old.
I know. He's really my age.
Yeah. But
NFL age is different than regular age.
Yeah. That's why they spend so much on their bodies.
Yeah.
But, I was in the room, so physically I'll say Kaepernick worked really hard. Colin
Crazy
Kaepernick
hard.
worked really hard. He was a guy they really wanted me to beat in the weight room. So beating meaning, okay, Cap gets here at 5 a.m. to lift, and then he's studying film by 6:30, 7 a.m. while he's eating breakfast before the first meeting even starts.
Right.
That's what I saw from Kaepernick.
That's the standard in the quarterback room now.
That's the standard, yeah. So if he does it, then I need to follow suit. With Russell, he was on that same type of time as far as getting there early and studying and whatnot, but he's very studious. So I was impressed at how neat his note-taking was to retain information.
Right.
And that's what I take from Russell.
So you knew he was studying that, and his study method was going to, like, retain it even faster.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even like Matt Ryan, for example, I was in Atlanta with him, or even Eli in New York for a little bit. Those guys never left practice with a missed throw. So if they missed a throw in that hour or 2 hours of practice,
they check it.
After practice, they were doing it 10 times just to make sure they had it right.
Like I missed that sail earlier on air.
Yeah.
So I got to hit this
10
just
more
so
times.
I know I can do it.
Yeah.
Take that one, all my Hollins kids listening. We're doing that.
Yeah.
And, we'll get ready to wrap it up. Speaking of the Hollins kids, any kids and anybody basically coming out of football.
Right.
You managed to basically build a career for yourself, keep yourself busy, find success post-football, which is not only hard from the high school level, seems like it's even harder post-college, post-NFL for a lot of guys.
Yeah.
How do you think you've kept yourself not just sane, essentially, but kept yourself loose, kept yourself pushing forward post-football?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, man, I've had a lot of support. I'm still blessed enough to say that I still have my mother and father still with me. My two little sisters, they encourage me all the time. Post college was post NFL was rough. Football ends for everybody. at some point in time.
It hurts.
At some point in time. So for me, when it ended, I didn't want to watch football. I went a whole year without watching football at all. I didn't care. Was less motivated. Still I had to figure out who I was outside of the game.
It's dark.
And at the end of the day, I was trying to figure out how do I take all the things I've learned in the sport and use it, because it's like, okay, do I want to be a coach? A coach or a trainer is what a lot of guys fall into, right?
Right.
Because they've done it for so long, teaching people how to do a 3-step drop, how to throw a football, how to read coverages.
And the
scheduling, right? But for me, I never liked meetings. So I didn't want to, be a coach to go sit in more meetings.
I knew you had a diva in there somewhere.
Yeah, I hate meetings, man. I can't stand meetings.
He watches film, it's meetings.
I hate meetings, but
not late to them though.
No, you get fined. I ain't gonna be late. But at the end of the day, for me, what I went through and my mental fortitude, because I talk about mental health all the time. I have not been diagnosed with anything from a mental health therapeutic perspective, right? But when I speak about mental health, people are encouraged by my resilience.
Right.
So when I tell them all the things I experienced and went through, it encourages other people to be like, oh, really? Oh, I thought you just had some crystal staircase to the Super Bowl, and it was just like that.
I thought you had a perfect life, pimping.
And then it's like when I talk, they're like, oh, I went through that too. So then it opens up the conversation, well, BJ, how did you handle it? And I can be honest enough now, because I'm getting more comfortable with who I am, where I can say, I didn't handle that very well.
Yeah.
Or I did this pretty good. Or this worked for me.
This time when I got hit with a wave of depression, essentially, I just call it a funk. I don't like to use the D word.
Yeah.
But I got hit with a little funk. I know that these practices and these coping mechanisms don't work.
Absolutely.
I know working out, water,
Yeah.
creating,
Yeah.
doing anything besides just lulling in it, I know that does work.
100%.
And you've probably noticed like I do. As soon as people know that you're willing to talk about it, they'll pour it out to you.
Oh, for sure.
They'll let you know like, hey, man, you've been depressed before. It's like there's still such a stigma around it. Like they think just because you smile or like you have a good time around people, you're incapable of having just a dark moment or two.
Yeah, and
I'm
encouraged. I'm encouraged, honestly, because I feel like, to answer your question, I know where you're going. Where does it keep me going? I can do what Russell Wilson's doing today. I can do what Geno Smith is doing today. I can do what any coach is doing today. I can go back and play football. I can still throw it. I can teach it. But for me, my motivating factors honestly just comes from I now know what my calling is. So like I thought football was gonna be my end all be all. I'm gonna be, as a kid, you want to make it to the league and that's it.
Yep.
All right.
I'm going to play in the league till I'm 50, then I'm going to retire.
White picket fence with the dog in the backyard with the wife and the kids.
Yeah.
And that story doesn't happen for everybody like that. So for me, I'm now learning and I have accepted that football is the tool that's putting me into this position today.
It's the vehicle that drove you to where
so
you're
I can,
at.
like I said, I can do what Russell and them are doing, but and I know they have their own story and own situation, but I know that my lane is my lane, so Russell can't do what I'm doing.
Right.
So what's encouraging me is just making sure that people have seen me at the top of all of it, right? The world champs, the White House, and President Obama. You don't know what I was experiencing with my little sister. I get that phone call. She's 22 years old, and you're telling me, my mom's telling me, hey, your sister has cancer. Like no one knows what that's like. Now, I'm not saying no one knows that. They don't know what my feeling was like.
And they don't know how it hits you when it hits you either.
So I want to be able to like help people and understand, no, you probably didn't go to Super Bowl and you probably didn't meet President Obama. But I'm sure there's someone in your family who has been sick at some point or you lost someone at some point to where me and you can find commonality in between how we can help each other be better people.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, like, why am I doing this too? Because I want to leave a legacy. I'm going to die one day. I'm not going to be on this earth one day. This podcast won't be here one day.
Right.
This building won't be here one day. But I want to leave something that represents that I did something to imprint and impact this world. If I don't have a son, because I don't have kids, if I don't have a son, that's part of it. But I also want to make sure on the other side of things, I'm still working consistently doing what I need to do. So
spreading the message, getting the word out.
Yeah.
And whether you have a kid of your own, at this point, you could probably say you've already impacted several children's lives, kids' lives, teenage lives, helping push them to the next level.
Yeah.
Is there any advice you got for any of the no-star, under-recruited, undersized, not getting any offers? What would you say to that kid right now?
I mean, I did it. You could do it. I mean,
and what exactly did you do besides beating FSU your true freshman year, winning a Super Bowl after being drafted, and playing for 2 different teams your freshman year?
Yeah, I mean, I think what carried me through all of those moments is the belief I had in me. So I really find that my competitive nature also forced me to work hard, because even today, if I go to LA Fitness today,
to hoop,
LA Fitness, and I play basketball today, I will play against somebody who's going to be competitive and push my buttons. Yeah. But what that person doesn't know is the belief I have in myself. And what that person also doesn't know is I just worked out at 5 a.m. this morning. Yeah. So in my mind, this is basketball. This is my second workout. Yeah. You just came in the gym to talk trash to me for a little bit.
You just turned LeBron on.
So you're going to have to deal with me every single time we run up and down this court.
Yeah.
So my mentality has pushed me to be in a different space to where my self-belief is, yeah, I'm short, yeah, I'm black, and yeah, I play quarterback, but I'm going to do it my way. So I'm not going to go to Alabama. I'm not going to go to Florida State. I'm going to go to USF, a smaller school at the time.
Not small no more.
I'm not going to switch positions. I'm going to believe in what I bring to the table. You put me in the locker room with the 49ers with 5 other quarterbacks, they all do different stuff. I still believe in what I am doing. I don't care if Colt McCoy went to Texas or Kaepernick's the starter or even Seattle with Russell. And I believe in what I am doing. So I think that self-belief is what has carried me, and I think that's what's going to carry these young men and women today, because no one else is going to give you a pat on the back like yourself.
Right.
And I think, unfortunately, we do a lot of negative self-talk, and that's where that mental health stuff comes from.
That self-talk will get you. Yeah. And the best advice I have, if you beat yourself up with negative self-talk like I do, clearly he does, talk to somebody else, because most of the time that self-talk you're beating up on yourself on doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll find that what you're telling yourself is the opposite of what's actually happening. But you don't know that until you open up and finally say something.
Yeah.
As grown men, as black men, as light-skinned, where you're not white enough, you're not black enough, whatever it may be, there's always something going on up there.
Yeah.
You have to get to a point where your confidence is unwavering, where it doesn't really bother you, you know who you are. But until you get there, talk to somebody.
Amen.
Message BJ Daniels on Instagram. He'll talk to you. You said you're not sure about coaching yet, but...
No, I ain't coaching.
I'm
good.
I might be able to get you a quarterback.
I like my time. I come volunteer, but I like my time.
You'll come spinning with the kids for a little bit?
Absolutely, 100%.
All right,
that's easy.
You usually went to P Park.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah, we'll get you out to Hollins for a second.
I went to Southeast a week ago.
We played them in spring. They got some dogs over there.
Yeah,
they got a nice little receiver.
So I'm more than ready.
All right, so then we'll get them out here. Again, thank you to our sponsor, 511 Franklin. I'm going to throw them a little ad read at some point in the middle of this, but wanted to give them a second shout out. Make sure you book your private events here, book your tables here on the weekends. Come see Reed and Anthony. They said if you mention the podcast, they'll give you free stuff. I don't know what that means, but free stuff, if it's free, it's for me, is typically the way I like to do it. I appreciate you, BJ.
Appreciate you, man.
Good to have you.
Appreciate you having me.
Hey, stay positive. Talk to somebody. Love you.
Long live Chief.